UNPAVED, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.
To me, Tom Brady is the GOAT because he's done more with less than any player at that position we've ever had.
All right, guys, welcome into UNPAVED. I'm Sean Salisbury. Give me a Sean Unfiltered on Twitter. You can get my guy Adam at Adam G. Sager on Twitter as well. Good to be with you today. The Buffalo Bills, obviously, the front office. I made a post yesterday after our show discussing, just kind of mentioning, I'm not so sure it's coaches that are always the problem. I think in a lot of these organizations, and hence why maybe like in Arizona, in certain cities, it feels to me like no matter who gets hired, you're carrying around the burden of a bad culture. You just are. Now, I don't think that's the case in Buffalo. I don't. I think McDermott was a class guy. When the Pagulas took over, you've heard good stuff about them. Brandon Beane seems like a good enough guy. I mean, they felt buttoned up over the years, right? They keep getting close, and well, that's been happening for a while. And they've got good players. But for whatever reason, they can't close it out, whether it's Josh Allen making big mistakes like he did last week. As good as he is to get him there, we've told you on this show, they cannot win unless he plays great. That's got to change, whatever that culture is. They've got good players, but somehow, some way, 7 guys can't take care of 11 guys on game day, and then your best player can't play average or good, which is a burden for him to carry on. It sucks to be that good sometimes. It's a problem. It is a problem to bear when you're that good, because the expectations in the team. You remember the Mike Life cereal commercial, for those of you that are 40 or over, the Life cereal commercial, and it's kind of reinvented itself and come back in some ways. It was like a year ago, where they're sitting at the table and they basically said, let's get Mikey. Mikey eats anything. And I think with the Josh Allen, let's get Josh. Josh Allen he can do it all for us. You get caught up in those things when you got a great player. I know that for a fact, because we're talking to players that played when Barry Sanders was there, and even as an opponent, you would be on the sidelines watching their offense play your defense, and you're playing against them. When I was in Minnesota against Detroit, and you used to watch Barry Sanders thinking, you get caught gawking at him thinking, man, I'm watching something special, forgetting at times that we're playing against these sons of bitches. And it was like, Barry, when you get Barry to do it, let's get Barry. He'll find a way to get this done. When you're that good, and the burden to carry on, where you got to play great every week, when you have one of those off games, it just can't be in the postseason. And for Josh Allen, it was. But I do believe it's a really good organization. And we're going to talk about it more. Bring Adam Sager in now, Adam G. Sager on Twitter. And to Sags, we discussed it a little bit yesterday, but with what's going on, I saw a little fracture yesterday, which bothered me. A little bit of fracture yesterday in the press conference, which bothered me, when Pagula saying one thing, he spoke for Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane was emotional, rabbit-eared about his wife. And, make his wife come into tears when people questioned if he was loyal to, or if he, had Sean McDermott's back. And then when there's a draft pick and Pagula jumped in and said, blamed it on the coach, saying, well, the coaching staff wanted Keon Coleman, but the front office didn't yet. The final decision was always made with Brandon Beane, unlike the Giants, what they're going to do, where Harbaugh's going to have the final say. I saw some stuff yesterday that was like the pin the tail on the donkey, or what's that thing, Sags, when you put it over and the kid's whacking a bat at the
pinata.
Yeah, pinata. I felt like that yesterday. And I haven't felt like, even though they haven't won a Super Bowl, I've always felt like they were like, how you have the first team left out? Mm-hmm. I almost felt like, because when I talk about class or Kansas City and Pittsburgh and the way Green Bay's done their business, and we say Baltimore, I don't want to leave anybody out. Pittsburgh, I felt Buffalo was one of those organizations, and from Marv Levy right on down through Jim Kelly and all these guys, and it's such a close knit. A lot of those guys, Darryl Talley and and Thurman. I got a lot of buddies from that group, and they're always, it feels like they're a fraternity still. And so I've always felt that. But with this, yesterday was the first time in a while, sans the losses they've suffered in postseason, that I felt like it was an organization in a little bit of disarray with the "I confess he did it" thing yesterday. That's the first time where the owner's protecting the GM. They're kind of bus tossing McDermott. Yet you saw a bunch of players saying one of the classiest, best men they've ever met was Sean McDermott. So it was a little bit, they were all over. It was, where's Waldo? Yet I'm not real sure who Waldo is of the group right now. So that hire will be important. And I thought that they allowed themselves a little crack in the foundation yesterday. I did. Now it can get fixed, and people on. I said I thought that there's organizations that screw up teams in the front office and ownership more than a coach does at times. Yet the coach is going to take most of the flack. And I'm not sure yet, because that's as good a fan base as there is in football. I'm not sure yet if the Buffalo Bills, if I know in that situation, did McDermott undercoach and just couldn't maximize them? Did they hit their ceiling and the staff, or has the organization not allowed them to break through the ceiling in certain situations? Judging from yesterday, it kept me, I don't know today, Segs. I don't. I was a little bit too much emotion for me from different, I don't want to button up, and I don't want my general manager rabbit-eared and worried about what the outside world's saying. I know it can hurt your feelings when fans are questioning or media's questioning, did you bus toss your head coach? You'll get that all the time. I think it's always works out where it's somewhere in the middle. It's a combination of the front office needs to get better, the coaching staff, and sometimes when you're there almost, a decade or 9 years, whatever it is, you hit the ceiling yourself with your head, and there's no way to break through. So I'm wondering about Buffalo, but I know with everything that goes on, they're still a really good team, and they'll get better. But I'm going to have to, if I'm Pagula in the front office, I'm going to have to make sure that's dialed in with less emotion and less rabbit ears worrying about what we think, more about what they think. And I think Buffalo's got to fix that. So I guess the big picture is there a reason that Buffalo hasn't been able to break through other than your quarterback not having his best game at the right time, unfortunately, when he needed to? And unfortunately, he has to every week because they are so quarterback-centric with Josh Allen on their team.
Well, yeah, and all this time that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott and Josh Allen were all together and having all this success of going to the playoffs every year, just not getting over the hump to the Super Bowl, what's been the one thing that hasn't really been heard from? The owner, Terry Pagula.
Which I'm usually okay with, Segs.
Yes,
I like
100%.
that. Yes.
But when did the problem start? All of a sudden now, you fire Sean McDermott, the owner gets involved. Now he's speaking for the GM in this press conference, and it kind of sends everybody into a spiral in the organization and outside the organization. And now you're trying to figure out who your next coach is going to be. Is it going to be Brian Dable? Is it going to be Joe Brady? Is it going to be Anthony Lynn? Who knows who it's going to be? But one thing's for sure, Brandon Beane, who supposedly didn't want Keon Coleman in the second round, according to owner Terry Pagula, was caught on camera. And I mentioned it very quickly yesterday, but Bailey has the video today of him at the combine. Let's listen to what Brandon Beane had to say about Keon Coleman.
That night, I was like, it's Keon unless someone just blows us away. We didn't feel anything was attractive enough for us to pass up on Keon.
And that's Brandon Beane. I mean, Sean McDermott's not, he didn't mention Sean McDermott's name. He went to bed saying it's Keon Coleman. Woke up the next day, got to his pick. There's Keon Coleman, and they drafted him. But yet you have the owner coming out, bus tossing Sean McDermott and his offensive staff and whoever was there at the time when they drafted Keon Coleman. Now you look like an organization in disarray. And if you're a coaching candidate who sees this and sees all these videos and the press conference, why are you not telling us? What are you saying? Why do I want to go coach for this guy?
Yeah, Segs, this is the old never let him see his sweat, right?
Right.
They just did. You can't, and they did. That's what I'm talking about. A little fracture crept in where I don't like. So I'm sitting here now. First off, if I'm Keon Coleman, whether you think he's a good player or not, he's in a building. He's under contract.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? Because basically you're saying, if you did that, that was a bad pick. That's kind of what you're saying right now. And now if you're Pegula, you didn't even, he jumped in and said, let me answer this, and Brandon Beane. Yet if you're the GM with the decision making, but now that the guy, Sean McDermott, if Sean McDermott was still there, would they have said that? The answer is fuck no, they wouldn't have.
Hell no.
No, that's my point. I always have hated that. You wait till the guy's out of the building and then you give him a little bus toss after a decade basically worth of really good service to you. And whether you thought he was good enough to move on as your head coach, you want to make a change. I got no issue with that. Listen, you're the owner, you're the front office, you decide. If you felt like you've maxed it out, move on. But then to do this tells me you really don't know. You haven't defined who's making decisions here. And now the world knows after we saw what Beane said on the video that Bailey found for us. So he's still there. Pegula now, when the owner starts to talk, I always start to think in a negative situation like this, because when you fire a coach, it's a bummer for some, and you got to answer questions. When I start to hear the owner overspeak, seems like a good enough owner. They've done some good things. Then Brandon Beane talk about, and instead of addressing that, he jumped right into the emotion. Well, it's hurtful. People talking, and my wife's crying. What do we automatically think? Well, you're not built for this. And if somebody's going to hit you across the face with a bat and it's going to bother you and you don't fight back, there's that part, whether it's true or not. And then they bring in the family in, and I don't know if you're trying to play to the emotion. And I understand why he's emotional. You just can't tell us that. That's what I'm saying. And then I know that it's okay to be compassionate, but nobody likes weakness in that. We all have weaknesses. It's just that they showed yesterday there's more than we think. And then there's Keon Coleman saying, man, did they want me here? Am I a butt? I mean, whether he is or isn't, but then there's that question. So do you keep him? Is he moving on? What are you doing? It bothers me. And I go back to one of the great organizations. I love how Baltimore and Steve Bisciotti handles his business. You'll never ask a question again. For Steve Bisciotti, who had a smile so sharply, and how often do you hear him talk? You don't.
Right.
Okay. He just does his job and does it right, hires good people and empowers them. I promise you that the GM in that building knows exactly who's making the decisions. So does the quarterback. So does the running back. So does the assistant GM and the pro personnel guy and the scouting team. They know. He doesn't have to say it or talk about sensitivity or that his feelings are hurt because people are mad at him because John Harbaugh got fired. And I'm sure he loves Harbaugh and has nothing but respect. Who wouldn't after that run? But when he handled it about who's making the next decision, he's got his franchise quarterback who's been an MVP twice in this league and is a phenomenal player. He simply looked into the camera and said, I can basically, and I'm paraphrasing, consult and want information from everybody, but I basically say, I have the power in this building.
I am the captain.
That's exact. I am the captain, not just now, but forever, as long as I own it. So yes. Point being is there's nobody that walks into that building that wonders, man, who's the captain? And it ain't the guy on Tom Hanks' ship, okay? Right. It's Steve Bisciotti. And that's how you set the tone quickly about, and then you guess, I'll promise you, do you think there's any indecision in that building about Baltimore, who's making the final say in the draft pick? No, you're exactly right. Kraft, Vrabel, and May right there, Jared as well. Good organizations. In Kansas City, there's no doubt who's making decisions. There just isn't. And right now, and I used to think, well, Buffalo, maybe not. Right now, you can't help but ask yourself, are the Buffalo Bills buttoned up? Or even if it isn't, you do have to ask, or is that the reason this indecision of the Where's Waldo pinball around? Who's making it? Steve Bisciotti made it real quick. Oh, yeah, I want everybody's input. I'll take as much input. That's called information. That's called evidence. I want information. If you don't want information, then you're in the wrong business. And probably in any business, you're in the wrong business. But with that, what do I do with it? And who's making the decision? Who has the power in the building? It didn't take long for no backup question on that bitch, what he said, right? No, I have the decision will be, it basically stops there. Now everybody moves on and does what they do. They know their assignment. Just like on the field. If you don't know how to do your assignment, I don't care how good you are, you're going to get beat. And we see it every week. So it's important. It's very, very important for the Buffalo Bills to find the next one and define that when that guy walks in the building, because that's the first question I'm asking if you're interviewing me. Who's making decisions around here?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know in Buffalo.
Right. And we'll see. They just completed the interview with Brian Dable. Got a few more on the books coming up. We'll see who the next head coach of the Bills is, who's leading Josh Allen, trying to get over that hump to the Super Bowl. But as Jared said, and you just mentioned, who's back in top? Who's back atop that AFC East? The New England Patriots. And Tom Brady's gone. Bill Belichick's gone. enter Mike Vrabel and Drake May. And if they take over, and if Buffalo wastes the best years of Josh Allen and never reach the Super Bowl, it's going to be looked at as a Dan Marino type career where
it's exactly what it is.
Really, really, really good. One of the best we've ever seen, but never got over the hump.
And you know what's crazy about that? Because they may do it different, because Dan, you can backpedal faster than Dan can run, but nobody throws it better. And nobody, let me tell you, that Dan will cut your heart out and feed it to you to this day on a platter while he smirks at you with his foot on your throat while he's feeding you. Got there once. I've said this before. Dan and I have talked about this many times. He said, Sean, I thought I was going back 4 or 5 more times.
Yeah.
He never got back after that season. Never got back after what I think it was the 49ers they got beat by. And he thought he was going to. And you talk about that career. Well, it wasn't wasted. But what do we say about Dan? Best pure thrower. Nobody got it. There's never been a quicker release. And that ain't on Dan, because without Dan, they wouldn't have sniffed any of it anyway. But you get point. And that's the same with Josh Allen. And the difference between Josh and Dan so far is that Dan's been to one. Josh hasn't even had his chance to get to one. So it would be, and you know what, in truth, he's not void of any, like I said, you can't turn it over 3 or 4 times in a game, right, Segs? We saw what happened with Houston.
Yep.
We see here in the Buffalo. So really interesting to see where they're going. And I almost feel like Buffalo's going to hire somebody that's been to, but like you mentioned, Dable, that understands the structure. I feel like that, don't you? Segs, I don't know if he's going to take.
Was there with Allen, was his OC
no doubt
for a few years.
Verbiage will be similar to what he's used to. Yeah, I think it's important. What's more important is they start to rebuild and get more playmakers around him on the perimeter. Simple. Segs, let me get to Augusta Precious Metals real quick. We got so much to discuss. Let me say this to you guys real quick. And I'm not trying to be dramatic here. I try not to be. Sometimes we all can be. The other day, I'm at the grocery store. It's a true story. Buying some of the same stuff I always do. We all have those same stuff. And an ice storm's coming now here into Houston. So got to get that stuff. And I'm looking at the bill like, come on, man. Higher than last month again. And am I telling you guys the same shit that you guys got to deal with every day? We all do, right? Some groceries, same groceries, some bills, same bills. And it's been happening for years now, month after month, just higher and higher. You start asking yourself, how high can this keep going? Because it's not stopping. And we wonder where the ceiling is. We just talked about ceiling in sports. What about the ceiling with us and groceries and price and going in where you're like, that pound of meat costs what? And that's what really worries me, for me, in whether you're 25 or 60, about retirement savings and the confidence that goes with it. It's not just the number on paper and what money can actually buy. If the groceries and bills keep climbing, what's next? What is next? That same retirement savings doesn't go nearly as far as you thought it did 20 years ago. You thought you were secure, or 10 years ago. And you have to have the same balance and still be falling behind. See, it keeps coming in, but we're saying, how is this? Boom. And you know what happens is the bills are creeping up to start jumping into your savings. It has to. You got to survive it, right? You already do. And that's why a lot of people with real retirement savings are diversifying part of their stuff into physical gold. And you heard our guy Devlin yesterday come on, Devlin Steele, and talk about it, educate you on why it's important and where gold and silver are headed. You got to jump all over it. And Augusta Precious Metals is there. And people with real retirement savings that are diversifying into physical gold, not to chase returns, just to protect what they've already earned. You've earned it. It's yours. Don't give it back. And that's what you got to do. Listen, I looked into this myself. I told you guys I was late to the party with Augusta Precious Metals. I finally caught up to not only a great company that gets it on the education part, but also gets it on who stands out and who is going to give you the best opportunity to understand what gold and silver and precious metals, tangible assets mean. And that is Augusta Precious Metals. No scare tactics, just straight education. Isn't that what we need? Scare tactics just come and go in one ear and out the other. We hear that all the time. Turn on your TV. This is not scare tactic. This is just confidence, security, and peace of mind when it comes to your retirement and your education and the money that's yours. This stays inside your IRA, your 401k, no taxes, no penalties. Think about that. Educate yourself. Get the free gold IRA guide. When I say IRA, the IRA, you guys know what an IRA is. The free gold IRA guide at www.seanbuysgold.com. That's www.seanbuysgold.com, or text Sean to 35052. In this economy, regardless of what part's thriving, are you thriving? is your dollar thriving, protecting your position, and how you stay in the game. SeanSalisburyGold.com or text Sean, SEAN, to 35052. Augusta Precious Metals, I believe, and a lot of people do, I think they're unparalleled when it comes to being the best in the business. I've gained more education in 3 months from them than I have in 60 years in my life. We all need to do that. Segs, it's a good gig, man.
Yes, it is. And if you missed that interview with Devlin yesterday, go back to YouTube and you can find it on the show from yesterday. All right, Sean, an interesting story that's been making the rounds, and it has to do with the San Francisco 49ers and all their injuries, because this is a year after year thing with this team. They have injury after injury after injury. Well, a story went viral by a guy who talked about the electrical substation that's right next to where they practice and play. And he thinks there's some validity to the fact that this is messing with the 49ers players that practice there every single day and play right there. I mean, you see here on the screen how close it really is to their practice fields. And do you lend any credence to this? You know, we don't know the science behind it, but this guy says that this could be part of the issue of why these guys have so many soft tissue injuries in terms of hamstrings, calf pulls, you know, everything that you get with you when we talk soft tissue. It's a lot of hammies. That's where you get a lot of this soft tissue stuff. Do you give any credence to this theory that's being put out there about this electric substation that's right next to where they practice and play?
Well, damn it, Segs, I'm a doctor, not a doctor. Yeah, Star Trek. You know what? I when I first saw it, you know what I did, Segs? I laughed and said, "Nah, this can't be true, right?"
Yeah, I chuckled
but
too.
then
I was just like,
sure,
yeah, whatever.
I chuckle and you move on and laugh. But you know what? Far be it for me to question. Now, we'll all question science. We're crazy enough to do it. And we question it more now than ever after what happened in 2020 with COVID and the science, the science okey doke. So I get why you would say, come on, man. How in the world is that? You know, it's like the same thing, Segs, when they say, go put your feet in the grass, walk on the grass barefooted for the magnet, you know, you get in touch with the earth. Yeah, and sometimes you think, grass, man, you think, man, what do you want me to do? Eat granola while I'm doing it? But there is something to that, right? And that's just from reading from people far smarter than us. So here's the way I look at this. I'm gonna try to make it even simpler. He said it. If it's evidence and you do research and it could be a problem, fix the problem. I don't know what the answer is, whether you move your practice facility, you bomb that part of it and fill it up. I don't know what the answer is or how far the magnetic forces go down. I'm not making fun of this because this is commonplace with the 49ers with their soft tissue issues.
Oh, it's
so constant. I'm one of those, no doubt. I'm one of those guys. Segs, you and I own a company, and somebody gives us information that can make our company better, safer, and more productive. Hell, if I'd have told you AI was taken over 30 years ago, we'd have done the same. We'd have laughed at it. And now it's in your kitchen every single day and making your production or your company or your ROI better and creating value for your company. If this creates value and keeps Christian McCaffrey or George Kittle or somebody on the field, why wouldn't I? So for me, well, it costs. Yeah, well, they got plenty of money. Go do your due diligence. The worst you can find out is that's not it. And our medical staff and our players, we got to pay more attention to soft tissue injuries. So I don't know the depth of it other than what I read, and I read this by him too. But why would somebody throw it out there? And I mean, people ruin their credibility all the time, but throw it out there if there's not something to it. And I would imagine somebody in the building who's got the doctor or their team doctor says, yeah, we got to check into it. So I don't know how relevant it is. It feels like it's gaining traction, Segs. I know this as a business, as a guy, as a business owner or somebody that listen, do you tell your quarterback not to ride a motorcycle or play basketball in the off season to protect him? So if this is causing and this single-handedly may be the very reason the 49ers couldn't advance. They were void of bodies of stars. Now, that doesn't mean they wouldn't have got beat anyway, but to me, I got a better chance of my good players are healthy, let alone everybody healthy. So yeah, I would look into it, do your due diligence, and if that's it, if there's an electrical substation conspiracy theory that actually has gone viral but actually is real, if you're the 49ers, don't you want to protect your investment? And that investment is $1 million in a $1 billion+ industry. So what's the harm? do your due diligence, look into it. And if there's something about it, then you got to talk to the smart people and find out what it is that fixes it so it doesn't continue to happen. It seems odd, Segs. It feels like beam me up Scotty shit from Star Trek, but I'm all in. If I'm the 49ers, I'm trying to figure out, hell, we got guys eating the right foods and what time. But remember when Chip Kelly in Oregon came out with that, we're going to practice in the morning, Segs?
Yeah.
Because that's when we're good. They did all those studies and other teams jumped on as well, that practicing early, guys are more awake. They're not worried about it. Oh, whatever it was at Nike and all that money they put into it, it worked for them. So if this works for San Francisco, if you're going to invest in R&D for a lot of your stuff, you might want to invest in this and do your due diligence, because I know a lot of people are going to call it the conspiracy theory. How many so-called conspiracy theories have come to fruition as true over the last 5 or 6 years in this country? And this is different, but for their organization, they're protecting their investment. You'd be dumber not to look into it than if you would, because once again, if the evidence says it, you're just doing a favor to your franchise and to your players and giving yourself a better chance to win and collect ROI on on the money you're paying. You definitely have to look into it. As far as the doctor part of it, that's above my pay grade, brother. I don't understand how you'd fix it. I just know that if it needs fixed, you got the money to do it, and you probably should.
Yeah, it'll be. I guess it's something we'll just
do you buy it?
Follow it.
Do you buy it? Are you buying into it at all, Segs?
I mean, I guess.
I'm usually reluctant to buy into this shit.
Yeah,
I'm usually a naysayer, but I am listening.
I would be okay. Like if I'm putting a percentage on it, 5%.
Okay, what if they found out that 5% of it that affected it 5 or 10%? You said 5% the reason. Yeah. What if it was affecting their players 10, 12, 15%? Is it worth it for you on your investment to protect that 15%?
Yeah, if you figure it out,
hamstrings are still going to happen, right? At least you throw a little money and research into finding out, right?
Yeah. If you got
that's just my thing.
Build a 30-foot wall in between the practice field and that, and do what you got to do.
Yeah, it bounces off the rubber, or you build I don't know I don't even know how you combat that, but that's left for the guys that have an IQ of 220. Okay, we'll leave that to those cats.
Something else that we didn't get to yesterday that's very interesting, and there's another layer to it today, is the Baker Mayfield tweet that was sent towards Orlando Ledbetter, who's a writer there in Atlanta, covers the Falcons. And Ledbetter tweeted, Falcons Kevin Stefanski, the new head coach, had a dumpster fire at quarterback in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson failed, which started a chain reaction to 11 other starters at the position. Shedeur Sanders closed out last season with 7 starts for Stefanski. Baker Mayfield jumped right in there because, he must have been searching his name or people sent it to him. And he responded with, failed is quite the reach, pal. Still waiting on a text/call from him, meaning Kevin Stefanski, after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach. Meaning that, him with the Bucs, they're in the same division now. They'll see each other twice a year. We know that Baker Mayfield and the Bucs had a great start to the season. I think at one point we did some rankings and they were in our top 3, both of us at the time, and then they just fell off like an anchor going to the bottom of the ocean. But now another layer today, former Falcons OC Zach Robinson is now the offensive coordinator for Baker Mayfield in the Tampa Bay Bucs. So what do you make of this whole situation? Do you agree? I mean, Baker Mayfield went, I think it was 11-5 that one year in Cleveland, that one Kevin Stefanski coach of the year, and they did pretty well there. So I wouldn't call that a failure. Maybe Baker's entire time in Cleveland was a failure because he's still not there. But what do you make of Baker having the ears open and responding to something like this?
Well, one is the reason why I'm not worried. I mentioned Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills rabbit ears towards that situation, right?
Yeah.
But Baker, this is the very thing. He's got a walk-on mentality. He always, and that's when he's at his best, honest to God, is that he's been questioned, and part of it's self-inflicted because he's a brash, confident guy, is that he was hit with this stuff his whole career, transferring in school and playing great, winning high, first pick of the draft. So he has thrived on that forever, Segs. And that's why, Well, he's rabbit-eared because he hears it. Who else does? The guy in LA that plays basketball, he's been hearing it forever. KD's been here. And Baker, some guys just use it to their advantage. I think Baker's like that. I think, and he's proven it. He went back to Tampa Bay after everybody had him left for dead in a bus and has played good football for them for the most part. So the failure part, that is a reach. This is 3 stories. Going from the last one that you just mentioned to the first one is, this is no story that Baker Mayfield hears and knows everything and thrives on this stuff. And that's okay if he's able to use it to his advantage. No big deal. And because of his walk-on mentality and what he's been faced with questioned since he came into the league and when he was in college, coming out of high school. And then there's the Zach Robinson issue. Now he's coaching him. And how does that affect? So you got to deal with that and that. And
right.
We'll see how that relationship develops. But the other 2 real stories, and these are 2 different. It's one guy talking about calling Baker Mayfield a failure, which in truth, wasn't he? Did he go 19 and 9 touchdowns? Was he the offensive rookie of the year that year as a rookie?
I would have to look.
Did he have them a fumble away and a backup quarterback away from moving on in the playoffs and beating the Kansas City Chiefs? Didn't Baker Mayfield play for Cleveland then too? I believe. Here's what happened. Rookie year, good. Second year, bad. Remember everybody questioned, man, he's doing all these commercials. And Baker Mayfield. Third year was pretty solid. Fourth year wasn't good. Then he was gone. And they call him here's why people say failure. He went there. He's been in Carolina. He's been in LA. He's been at places where people thought, well, he's just the first pick of the draft. So if you're judging it like that, you could say didn't live up to being the first pick of the draft. I look at it the other way. I think Baker Mayfield's a good football player. I think he loves chaos. I think he's great in organized chaos. And I think there's things that he knows he's got to get better at. I don't think Baker Mayfield's been a failure at all. I actually think he's been a good player. Now, when we talk about first pick of the draft, have you lived up to that? No, not yet, because he hadn't won a Super Bowl, hadn't been the MVP. But Baker Mayfield's not a failure. The Cleveland organization and their decision-making with quarterbacks and the way they go about it has been a failure galore over the last handful of years. Doesn't mean they don't have good players or haven't had good coaches, but the overall sum it's been a failure from front office right on down. It just has. And Baker gets lumped in, and he's part of it because he was there, but he's played some good football and played good football in Tampa. And then the other part is he's still bothered. Stefanski's he got astray from Baker because some guy said that some guy said that he's a failure, right, Seg? So he's still feeling that, why didn't I get contacted? Why didn't the guy contact me, Kevin Stefanski? So there's a bitterness there. And Baker Mayfield, like Aaron Rodgers, is a scorekeeper. And he will use this as fuel when he plays twice a year against the Atlanta Falcons, as mentioned here. And he will thrive. Other guys, they'll spend so much time worrying about, well, that coach owed me a phone call or a text or saying something, and it'll affect him in the game negatively. Baker's type guy go have 2 monster games against him and then run over there and spike the ball right by the sidelines at his feet. And I'm here for all of it. So he's not a failure. He hasn't been quite lived up yet to his first pick of the draft. Maybe he's going to be in the right situation for the next 10 years. Stefanski probably should have called him, but I don't know that relationship other than this, and he's still bothered by it. And then the third layer is that, somebody writing that he's a failure. The truth is, in all this, the base foundation of this is the Cleveland Browns organization has failed that city for a long time. And it's got to get better.
Very long time. Yeah, just to let everybody know, it was Baker's 3rd year when they went 11-5. They lost 22-17 to the Chiefs in the divisional round after
a backup quarterback for the Chiefs a way of making a run and a play that they win that game if they don't make a few mistakes in that game. They had that game won.
In his rookie year, he had 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, had almost a 94 rating. His 3rd year was Stefanski, 11-5, had 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, had a 96 rating. So he had good years in Cleveland. It was the 2nd year that was bad, and then the 3rd year or the 4th year.
No, 2nd, 4th year. Yeah, the 2 even years were bad for him, and then he was on his way.
Yep, and then he was on his way.
But as first picks of the draft go, Segs, we'd probably say hasn't lived up to that. But failure's a bit hyperbolic in this.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Something we've been talking about has been decided over the last couple of weeks. We've been wondering when the decision was going to come. Well, your USC Trojans have their defensive coordinator. It's former TCU head coach Gary Patterson. And Sean, I love this hire.
I do too.
Riley.
I think this is, Segs, what happens when and he's been still involved in football, just not the head coach. He's been involved as like consultant to the kid. He's done a few different things.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. This is, Sigs, I'm not sure with the guys available to you. I'm not sure this isn't a brilliant hire. For me, since I thought Alex Grinch was going to be better there, Sigs,
I did too.
Because his, no one obviously had a relationship with the great Mike Leach and Mike's feelings for Grinch and how he did there, and then moving on as a, to a couple other players. I thought Alex Grinch was going to turn USC's defense around. But then again, it just didn't work for whatever reason. This is the best defensive coordinator hire they've had since Pete Carroll left, I think, on the surface. Now, it's not sexy, Segs. He's a little older. He hasn't been in everybody's social media for the last couple. And Gary lays low, always has. But he's opinionated. He's a great defensive coach, was a hell of a head coach, and he's a winner. That's why people still want to hire him. I think this is I do. Say, I wasn't even thinking about Coach Patterson while all this is going on. You're thinking about the guys whose names are in the every day, right? You're thinking about. That doesn't mean they're a better candidate. There is nothing about Gary Patterson that doesn't tell you, and Gary Patterson's never going to have the bandwidth of players as far as recruits go in his coaching career as a head coach or a coordinator that he's going to have at least now. For him to develop them and put them in position, that's on him. Mm-hmm. He's never going to have a cupboard more full with athletes than he has at Southern Cal. Now, what to do with them? We've said that about other coaches, but this one hit me. I'm like, damn, I didn't even think about Gary Patterson in this role. And this may end up being the smartest decision Lincoln Riley's ever made as at least as the head coach at SC, to bring this guy in. Because another thing, Segs, that guys would be afraid of, maybe Lincoln's not, I'm not talking about him, but some would. Why do you think some would not hire Gary Patterson full-time? I'm going to tell you what. I mean, when I talk about hire them as their coordinator. Right. You want to know why? Because they're afraid that he's going to be so successful, either you're going to lose him or people are going to clamor for. Remember when Coach Orgeron was our defensive line coach and coordinator and recruiting? Yep. What did everybody want when he took over? Nobody wanted him to go. They still want him back. Gary Patterson's one of the best defensive minds in football. I think this is a great hire, and I think we got a chance at SC for this to go down as Lincoln Riley's best hire. Yeah, at any point in time since he's been a head coach.
And Gary Patterson's still just 65. I
know.
So after he left TCU, he was the special assistant to the head coach at Texas, and then took a year off. Yep. Took a year off. Pretty sure he did a little bit of TV work. I want to say for CBS.
Probably consulted for a few people too.
Yeah. And then 2024, he consulted with Baylor and was helping out at Baylor. And
Dave
now
Miranda, who's a great defensive mind as well.
And now he comes to USC as the defensive coordinator. And I don't think you have to worry about him being a head coach again. I don't know that he wants that again.
That's agreed. He said, I think Gary right now is loving the life of just relationships with players. Right. You get to the point, and right now Gary might be one of those guys that says, a head coach with all this shit going on with NIL and transfer portal, let me do what I know most head coaches always love, and I've told you this. The thing they miss the most about being a position coach or a coordinator is their relationships with the players, which we've let, because social media knows, go by the wayside. Relationships with those players matter, and I feel like Gary's at the stage of his career, that security where, I go, because listen, Sakes, this guy's got a resume that says head coach written all over it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he's available to be the defense coach. But there are some whose egos would get in the way. What if Gary wants it back? I'm not saying Lincoln, but I think Gary's carved it out the way he wants it done. And I think this is a brilliant hire, even though it may not be sexy, because a lot of young kids may not even remember Gary Patterson killing it long before these other coaches did at TCU. He put TCU on the map as far as a dominant program, and they were good every year. They were in play for a big bowl game when we were playing bowl games like we used to on a regular basis, and January 1 was real relevant, right? So I love this hire, and I was so glad he did it. I got 0. 65 doesn't mean anything. Gary loves the kids, and he's good at it. He's in a coaching prime. I think this is a hire that I would have never even thought of while this process was going on. I'm glad he's there.
Yeah. Good for Lincoln Riley going out and getting a guy of this stature.
Lincoln knows the importance, Segs, of this year for him. He knows the importance, because their alumni are not going to put up with kind of getting there. And for this is, and they would have kept
Yes.
Did he go with Matt Campbell? Right. This is the best defensive hire that they've had since in years. I think, at least on paper. We'll see what happens.
Agreed. Sticking around the college game, and we're going to talk hoops and football here because it's just pure chaos when it comes to transferring and trying to get back into college hoops. Alabama, former Alabama big Charles Bediako is now been enrolled back in Alabama and is eligible to play after a court ruled that he is eligible. At first, the NCAA said no. Now this judge says he gets a temporary stay, so he can dress. He can play this Saturday against, I believe, Tennessee, which is a big game for Alabama. This is after, of course, James Najee, who walked back on at Baylor, who, funny enough, Baylor, I think, is 1-4, I think I saw, since he's been playing, so it hasn't helped them. But it's this new thing where now I've seen another 5 or 6 kids trying to sue their way back into college hoops because they, gave up their eligibility, went into the draft, played in the G League, or played pro ball, and now they're trying to get back in. It's just, I don't know another word to put on it that gives as much impact as clusterfuck. That's what the NCAA and all this shit is going on right now is. It's just a big clusterfuck. And nobody knows what exactly the rules are. And then on top of it, Sean, I just saw a tweet that has all the findings in it. The judge who gave the temporary stay is a donor to Alabama, an active donor to the Alabama sports program.
No conflict of interest there, is there?
No conflict of interest there. So there's all kinds of layers to this. We just saw a kid from Cal, a linebacker, go to Clemson, enroll, take classes, be in team meetings for 2 weeks, and then just up and be like, nah, I'm good. I'm actually going to transfer to Ole Miss and be a linebacker there and get to play immediately. What is going on in college sports right now? I mean, I know we've talked about it, but it's chaos.
It's an embarrassment. That's the only way I could sit here and hit every layer, and we can spend a week's worth of shows on this. Just when you thought the NC2A couldn't fuck up more, we've now allowed this to creep in. Once you set foot on a professional sports campus, meeting room, that's the first layer of this. You are not allowed to come back. Think about if we'd have proposed this 20 years ago. People said, what are you talking about? Get his ass out and go play. You can't hack it there. Do what the rest of us do. Whether you played 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. So let me ask you this. Is there an age limit on or can we sue over that too? If you're 30, can you still play college sports? You can, right? Say, we don't have an age limit right now, do we? I've seen it like a Division 2 and 3, right? I'm not sure about
that
D1.
Story about the really old guy is like 58.
Yeah, it'd be like 40, right?
Some really small NAIA school.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's NAIA, Division 3, Division 2, or if it cuts off Division. And that's another thing. Sure. I've never understood when it comes to rules why they're all not governed the same way. It's weird. You could wear this, but you can't do this on this one. It's like in SEGs in Division 1 football. The coaches can't talk and contact the player till like June of their junior year going into their senior year. The summer before.
Yeah.
Now D2, D3, NAIA talk to you whenever they damn well want. For the most part, you see what I'm saying? It's like, so it's weird how we're not uniformed in a lot of this. I understand the scholarships and the money, and because NAIA can't, I get all that. But I'm just talking about rules. This is, I've never, first of all, I always wonder if the college kids are looking at these guys like, dude, what are you doing in our locker room? Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the guy who spent 3 years at college and goes back to his high school prom. And he doesn't even have a girlfriend that's still in high school. He goes back to the prom, kind of hangs out. Remember when I played here? This is what this feels like. Yet that guy, but this guy's enrolled classes. Yeah. These guys are. That guy just goes back to the prom, and we laugh at him, say, dude, cut your mullet. You've been out of high school for 3 years. But then he comes back, and then that'd be like coming back saying, well, you know what? I think I want 1 year of
I want to play high school ball again.
Of weighted math. Yeah, I want to play high school ball. I only played 3 years because I didn't play as a freshman. Can't you find a way to I'm going to sue you. I don't get this. Listen, I know we're so caught up in it's about the kids. Can we stop this now? First of all, he's a grown-ass adult. Secondly, whether it's NIL or that, when you've made the decision. Now, I understand you hire somebody to check where you're going to get drafted. and then you don't go into the draft and you go back.
Right.
I get that. But once you've done and decided, you go, we drafted you, you've taken jump shots in a G League, or you've been in a meeting room. Enough. It's an embarrassment. And I don't understand. Do you ever notice, Segs, that it feels like the rules are suing and doing, and every day there's a new rule, but we don't even know what the rules are, and you come back and play. It's going to happen in football. Why wouldn't it?
All right.
If I'm just going to use quarterback. Let's say you did the due diligence, you got drafted in the 7th round, whatever, say 6th round, and you went there and you realized, man, I gave up $2 million because you thought you were going to be drafted higher. Okay, let's say, remember when Shedeur Sanders gets taken in the 5th round? Let's just say, didn't he have one more year left, Sakes? Did he have one more year, or was he used up his eligibility? Did he have one more year? Let's just say he did.
Okay.
Let's just say he did for fun, regardless. And hell, I don't know. Hell, some guy could probably sue. I don't have any year eligibility, but I want to sue you because I want a 6th year of medical red shirt that I missed 4 years ago. So let's say Shedeur, because everybody thought he'd be a higher draft pick, decides, you know what? I got into this meeting room in Cleveland. They drafted a guy in the I don't want to play here. And goes back and when's that going to happen? When is that going to happen?
Right.
And he goes back. It's just like it's basically a senior transfer in the portal on steroids. We get to do whatever you want. It feels like that. It's an embarrassment. It shouldn't be allowed. I understand. I care about the kids, but you know what? You're traipsing now, and that filters down. So guess what, Segs? The kid who was going to get a scholarship no longer has that scholarship, and then the kid who's behind him no longer. It's a domino effect that just gets rolling. You can't stop it. And if one guy does it, the next one. Now you got eligibility. Why wouldn't you? If they're going to let you. On the other side, there comes a point in time when enough's enough. This is a bloody embarrassment. And then to be able to walk into class in a different way. So there's two heads to this. Walk in, you're being coached by them. You walk out and say, no, I want to go play somewhere else. And you're eligible to go to school and play tomorrow. When is there accountability? And then we wonder why these guys fuck up 5 years into their life and they don't know how to manage anything. Because everybody's no, it's for the kids. We used to joke about that. Oh, I do this for the kids when you know it was for the adults. Yeah, Halloween's for the kids while the adults are sitting there handing out candy on their front porch, drinking tequila shots. Who hadn't been there while they're walking up and down? That's what this is. This is not for the kids. This is just, it's like the NCAA has no idea how to handle it. So, let them go play. This ain't Wild West, dude. This is do whatever you want, anytime you want. I just think the best way, it's a bloody embarrassment. We already know the rules and portal and all that. This allowing a guy who's set foot on an NBA court to come back in and play in college, and now it's becoming more rampant. Nah, brother. Once you decide to walk in there, you're done playing college. Done.
Well, and I think it's.
Can I go back and play college basketball?
Yeah.
If I was healthy, nobody wants. But if you're 40 and you say, I got some eligibility left. Wait a minute. Can LeBron didn't go to college, right?
No.
Does he have eligibility left?
He must.
What's the difference if you played 2 minutes or 200,000 minutes? Can LeBron go back and play? Can we recruit him at SC? His son didn't work out there, but can we recruit LeBron? He got college eligibility left, doesn't he, Six?
He'd probably make his son come back and play with him.
But if he's coming, I'm okay with that. If he will, I'll take him at his age right now. So you get my point, Six.
Yeah.
Obviously hyperbolic, but I just don't know where it ends, and I don't know why we allow this. It's an embarrassment because they would have laughed at the kid 20 years ago saying, you're not allowed to do this. And now we've just opened the floodgates to do it.
Part of this started, especially with college hoops, because they started allowing the European kids or the overseas kids that were playing professional ball over there, even at like 16 and 17.
Right.
Those kids weren't allowed to come to college because they had played professionally. It was against the rules. Well, then all of a sudden somebody got in, one person got it, and now the floodgates have opened and we see it all over the place. I mean, Illinois, the school right by me, every year they're pulling kids in. They just pulled a kid in. It was like 4 weeks ago, halfway through the season. He's on their active roster, and they just, he comes right in and boom, he can play. And he came from a professional league overseas. Now he's only 18 or 19 years old. So he's a college age kid, but you allow one professional league. Why not do it with the G League? And it's kind of the same thing, or the NBA. We're getting to that point. So it's just it's a mess. And until some body of government with the NCAA.
I don't ever want government involved in this, Sakes, but I'm
Yeah.
starting to think government needs to be involved in
Yeah.
this, which I hate. I don't
Yeah,
want them
and I
involved in
didn't
sports,
even-
but they may have to.
Right. I didn't even mean government in terms of the actual government.
You're talking
I meant
about
just like a governing body.
govern it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Governing body that takes, everything into account, and they set a standard of rules for, like you said, from Division I all the way down to NAIA. And everything's the same, and we do it.
Yep. No doubt. Mike Fittery 77, the kid is looking to get more exposure playing college. Nobody watches G League. Not about what the people who watch G League are the very team that drafts you or that you go play for.
Yeah.
It is different than when you declare for the draft, you don't get drafted, and you want to come back in, but you haven't set foot on a camp. I can adjust to that part. You got eligibility left. They didn't draft you. You were disappointed. Let's not cut the kid off at his leg. Let him go. He hadn't taken any money from the team. He went, even if you had a tryout, but boom. But once you decide you're playing and you went and played in the G League, which is minor league NBA to try, and you can't play anymore in college. And where it's going to stop, it may not be the inequity, the ineptness of the NC2A and people involved, the grownups. It's going to stop, Sakes, for instance. And I know people want to save their job, but he's obviously not crushing it, or that they would be winning more, right, of these kids. And even if he did crush it, is the coaches at those places got to say, come on, man.
Yeah.
We're not giving you a scholarship to come back here. If you want to go to class, fine. Come back complete your. He may even have 2 degrees. I don't know, but come back and do that, fine. But you're not playing. We're just not. We're not doing. We used to say one and done, man. Young kids, and they're dominating the NBA. But we got somebody that's already been on an NBA roster can come back to college. That was blasphemous years ago. You can't do it. It's not okay. There's nothing about it that says, this is a better opportunity. Let's let these kids do this. No, because in helping one kid, you're destroying the high school kid that had a scholarship that now loses it because he came back.
Well,
and he hasn't had his chance to do it. It's going to take a college coach or a group to say, you know what? Oh yeah, the rule says you can come back, but the rule here is we're not taking a guy who's set foot on an NBA court or an NFL field. Can't do it.
And think about it back in the day when KG and Kobe and those guys started coming, Tyson Chandler, Eddie Curry, those guys that came right out of high school to the pros. A lot of those kids didn't work out. A lot of them weren't Kevin Garnett or Kobe Bryant. A lot of them failed.
Most of them aren't, Sags.
Yes.
High school guys.
And then it got so bad that they made the rule that you had to be 19 and a year out of high school, or a year out of high school, excuse me. So a lot of them had to be the one and dones that
So now you could be 30 and a year into the NBA to do it.
Right. So it's almost like it's gone the exact opposite now, where it's like, you can come in, play 3 years, go to the G League. If you're not quite ready, maybe you can make it to the NBA. But if you don't, even if you step foot for a few minutes, but you're not really playing, you can come back to college and play. And hell, you might get 6 years.
Sags, help me with this. So the rule, just to make sure I'm not missing, so I don't want to speak out of turn, because it's such a blatant embarrassment that it makes me not even want to dive into the depth of it, right, of the rule. So let me ask you, and you tell me right or wrong. So if in fact and he's not going back because he wants to play to get it, well, I want to learn, but you're going back because you want to play and get paid. That's simple. I get it.
Right.
But tell me, so what if a guy plays a year on a roster, he's a 7th man, but he misses college and he's homesick, or he misses college, wants to go back and play, has a year of eligibility or 2 years of eligibility, and he's 25. But he played a full season and averaged 8 points a game. Am I missing? So what's the rule on this? Do we know it? So
no.
Do you have to? Is there a certain amount of minutes you have not been able to play? Do you have to be a G League guy, even though you're you're a professional, which, well, basically college is professional now. But if you played a year, but it wasn't what it was all cracked up to be, and you just miss Michigan hoops, buddy.
Right.
Can I come back and play? Sags? I average 4 points a game, play 3 minutes a game. Can I come back and play? Because now they saw me and say, man, his 4 points a game there is 17 points a game for us, and we got the $1 million NIL waiting on him, and he can come back and live the college life, and then they still have his rights when he goes back. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not doing a deep dive on something I don't believe in, and I don't believe in this. But I'm just wondering, is there a ceiling on the rule? What's the rule?
I don't.
Is it playing time, age? What is it?
I don't know that anybody can answer that, Sean, and that's the problem.
Right. The communicate. It's fascinating to me,
don't
but it's
know
an
who can
embarrassment.
answer that.
Agreed. And I can't.
And I mean,
Find
and
somebody
you
else who
look at
can.
it
I
like,
can't.
you know, how hockey does it. Hockey, you can draft a kid that is, you know, playing professionally in Russia, and he can stay over there and play. You retain the rights. We see this in
Right.
basketball where it's a
Happens all the time.
stash guy.
NBA.
You know, you draft somebody and he stays there. In hockey, though, you can draft a kid coming out of, and maybe the NBA should look at this. You could draft a kid coming out of high school, but he can still go to college and you retain his rights when it comes to NHL. I mean, there's some of the best players that come in, they go play a year of college hockey, and then if the team deems them ready, they can come play on the big squad. If not, they can stay and play again in college another year, and you just retain the rights to them for so long, and then you have to make a decision once, you know, I think it might be 3 years. I'm not 100% sure, but maybe that's the way to try and do it. I don't know, but the way it's going now is insane, and there's no way to fix it right now besides somebody stepping up in the NCAA, putting someone in charge to figure this out. But
100%.
let's look at college football. Darian Mensah, real fast, the Duke quarterback, kind of a Damon Williams situation. He signs his deal with Duke for roughly about $4 million in NIL money. Well, Miami never gets their quarterback that they were thinking they were going to get. They were trying for Raiola. They were trying for a few others, Sam Levitt. Well, they didn't get anybody. And on top of it, they were trying to try and win a national championship. Well, a couple days before the national championship, Miami realizes they don't have a quarterback for next year. They go to Mensah, and they reportedly offer him a great deal in terms of paying, you know, they'll pay whatever they got to pay to get him out of his money or his deal with Duke. They'll give him an Adidas sponsorship. They'll pay him, you know, some were saying $6 to $7 million. Just another case where a kid signs a deal and then reneges on it and goes, you know, now he's going to go to Miami, and the judge says he can leave his contract and just bow out, basically, and Duke has no power over him.
Why do we even have signing? If the contract's not, if it's not binding and it doesn't matter, why aren't we just dapping people up and saying, hopefully I'll stay. If not, I can leave whenever I want. There is no difference. There's nothing binding. You can threaten to sue, but what ends up happening is you threaten, they got more power at it. I mean, listen, he probably doesn't have very few of us have that kind of money at that age to be able to take on a university like Duke that's got a great law. I mean, you're barking up the wrong tree and winning that one. But they let it happen. They battle. And in the end, the rules are allowing it, and the kid is going to win. He's going to make more money, play at a better football program, and he's a good player. I have nothing against. He's highly skilled. I don't know what it's going to mean on Sundays 2 years from now, or what it's going to mean for Miami. The rules are allowing it. Everybody, I mean, they're doing it, and these kids are taking advantage of it to the hilt. If I'm Duke, like I said, it just tells me, oh, they're chasing the bag. Fine. If they're chasing the bag and only the bag matters after you've committed to somebody, you're telling, here's the lesson you're teaching, and none of them care about this in long term. They just don't. Right. It's instant gratification. Is the long term that doesn't matter. I want the money now. It just tells you that he's playing for money, and he and about a million others. Right. But why would I want a guy that, in truth, Duke needs everybody to buy in? Miami's got more players than Duke does. Manny Diaz, you need players to buy in. So once he's left. Now, if you haven't signed and you can move on and you're going over this, like I said, there's nothing binding with these contracts anyway, because quite frankly, nobody lives up to it. And the ones that do are doing it because they got a better deal at where they are instead of leaving. But if they're not binding and we're not enforcing any of the shit, the kid can take it on and go get rewarded for breaking a contract that you and I could not break right now. You would have to compensation to somebody. And once again, I'm going to tell you fans out there that turn on this and see this later on today or seen it now. Don't tell me coaches can do this. When a coach signs a contract, he's got money on his head, meaning you got to pay a big buyout to get him. Once again, the smartest thing we could do is we got to tag money to each player. And once you sign, there is a major price to pay, not only for you if you want to leave about sitting out. You've signed. If they're not going to let you out, you either stay or if you want to leave, you got to sit out of here. He ain't going to do that. Or we also got to put money that, Miami wants him. He's under contract. Miami, The buyout's $10 million on the kid, or $5 million, or $3.5 million. Pay the school, let him go. Because then the school gets to win. You took my best player away. But he also ran away. He's not bought into Duke. That's why I would never let him back. He's not coming back to me. I'll find somebody as good as him sometime. I don't know when. May not be. Listen, when he dresses in a phone booth like Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, we'll have that conversation. Maybe he will. And he's a really good player. But he's not bought in. So our program's not going where we want to go if our best player's not bought in. He's chasing the money. If Miami right now turned around and said, dude, we've changed our mind. We're only giving you $500,000. And Vanderbilt called and said, yeah, but we got $3 million for you. What do you think he's doing?
Gone.
Obviously a smart kid. He's at Duke. He's at Miami's a good academic school. Boom, gone. He's gone. So I don't want him back, but there's no binding contract. You can do anything you want. And for the most part, unless a coach says you ain't coming back or we don't want you here, the kid's winning all the time.
Right.
But if I'm the NC2, if I'm the leader of the NC2 or the committee of the NC2, the number one thing I'm doing with all this, I'm putting money value. The kids have placed money value on their skill set, haven't they? We all have. So why can't I place money value if you leave me while you're under contract, even though apparently it's not binding with any of them? You can come in, sign a contract, we start to pay, and then you can bolt. Why won't we put a buyout on them that makes them pay if the kid leaves? And if the kid's under contract, he's got to pay a portion of his NIL that he got while he was there back. I would never take a kid back. I'm telling you now, dude. If I was the NC, this would be the first rule I'd adjust. We are putting a money value on every single kid. Since the kid has put money value on what he wants in his personal life, then we got to protect our interests as a school, and we're going to do just what we do the head coach. Even if you just wanted to apply it to the quarterback position like a salary cap, you are best. You got to designate 5 players on your roster. 7 million, 4 million, 3 million, 2 million, just like you would a coach, the head coach. You want him, you got to owe us $7 million, and he can leave if we don't want him, if we decide to let him out of our contract. Nothing binding. This is also an embarrassment. Good on him. He's going to win anyway and play on a better football team. But I wouldn't fret too much over it if I was Duke, because guess what? He wasn't bought in all the way, which guaranteed me you ain't winning a national title if your best player ain't bought in. And it does matter. He's playing both sides of the fence, and he's going to end up winning. Miami and him will win in this. But will Miami really win because he's at Miami for the money, or is he at Miami because that was his place to go and win a national title, right?
Right.
I don't blame the kids for doing it. If there's no rules, why wouldn't you, Segs? Go chase it down. You're going to be a starter.
Wow.
Everybody loves you. It's the you. I get it. But I would end it, and I would not allow it to happen. So good on him. I'm sure he's a good kid. But if you're Duke, I wouldn't have brought him back even if he wanted to come back anyway.
Yeah, it's the wild, wild west when it comes to college athletics right now in terms of NIL, and it's a mess, and someone has to figure it out. Someone smarter than us, a group of people that can get together and just make it make sense, I think is the main thing that fans and everybody, coaches, everybody wants to see. Just make it make sense. All right, Sean.
Agreed.
Our bet of the day, we're going back to Kalshi, Coach of the Year winner. The odds are out. We got the final 5. We got Mike Vrabel of the Patriots. We got Mike McDonald of the Seahawks. We got Liam Cohen of the Jaguars. We got Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers. And we got Ben Johnson of the Bears. So right now you have, where did it just go? There it goes. Right now, Mike Vrabel is the clear front runner for Coach of the Year at an 82% chance, followed by Mike McDonald at 18, give or take 4 points. Liam Cohen, Kyle Shanahan, then Ben Johnson. Who do you like for NFL Coach of the Year?
I'm going to tell you, man, there's a part of me that wants to say what Liam Cohen did was pretty fascinating. I thought he did a hell of a job. Vrabel, I would put first. I know Ben Johnson's not going to win Coach of the Year. Listen, and this, I'm not sitting on the fence. Dude, when you go through all 5 names, it's like, how the hell am I supposed to choose this? If you said Ben Johnson in your town, considering what they did and where they came from, Segs, was the Coach of the Year, how can you be wrong?
Right.
How can you bitch about that? You couldn't, right? Mike McDonald's done a phenomenal job in Seattle. I think sometimes do we come into Segs, who's done the most with less or who has the best record and still in the playoffs?
Right.
Well, what's the criteria for these guys that are voting? For me, what Vrabel did, and it's one and done with Rod Mayo and coming back and maximizing this and having them in a 4 quarters away from getting to the Super Bowl. Hell, I don't know who's done a better job than Mike Shanahan. Not Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan. Who's done a better job than him?
Yeah.
Considering, so does that come into play? What do we do when we vote for comeback player of the year? Guy overcame crazy injuries to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott's in it. I think we got Christian McCaffrey, who's the MVP on the finals, MVP finalist, the MVP finalist player of the year, finalist, and comeback player of the year. I don't know if that's ever been done. I don't think it has, but I think he's in all 3. So who's done a better job? Kyle Shanahan with what he had, Mike Vrabel with what he had, Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, Mike McDonald. I would choose Vrabel first, especially for a guy, he wasn't coaching, he was out of football, right? To come back in and hit the ground with Segs just like that. And when you look at name me 10 starters on the offense for New England, you can. I'm just talking.
Right.
Kind of, you know what it reminds you of, Segs? Indiana.
Yeah.
Not that the Patriots history. I'm just talking about the expectations of when Cignetti took over. Successful. He's had success. Vrabel had some success, but was a great player and has been a good assistant and did some good things at Tennessee. Well, the reason I say that is, yeah, you knew you had a good quarterback. You got a good quarterback. But there's a lot. I mean, there's Diggs and there's players. You get Travion Henderson. I know all that, Segs, but my point is they weren't an overloaded stud roster of great talent. He's maximized it. Shanahan's overcome injuries. Mike McDonald, hell, we get Sam Darnold, boom, 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 boom. Look at them. And they are the 1 seed. So is it the 2 1 seeds because they were good? Denver? Hell, we got a 1 seed and Sean Payton didn't even get mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can say that. I would go Vrabel first. I didn't have Jacksonville winning the division, or I had them struggle to get in the playoffs. Liam Cohen, goofy and Duval, and yet he coached his ass off this year. He did. Give me Vrabel first. And there's a part of me that says what Shanahan did with what he had. I think Purdy missed 7 or 8 games this year, and he had to play a backup that was discounted at a couple places, Jacksonville being one of them. I would go in that order. I would take Vrabel first, Shanahan second, but I think it's going to go Vrabel first and probably McDonald second.
Yeah, when I look at it, I was immediately like Liam Cohen. That was my guy.
That's the first thought I had. Agreed.
My first thought. He's done what Urban Meyer, Doug Peterson couldn't do. They got Trevor Lawrence playing as an MVP candidate, and he is one of the 5 MVP candidates that is listed, one of the finalists. You got Trevor Lawrence there. That deserves a ton of credit, and you got this team to the playoffs. For me, though, I come back to Mike McDonald because number 1 seed, you got Sam Darnold, continued that on after, coming from Minnesota, and you won the toughest division in football.
And you traded your best receiver in the offseason, right?
Yes, you traded your best receiver in the offseason. So I look at him and what he was able to do, winning that division, and I do hold it against Mike Vrabel a little bit for his schedule, and I know he can't control that. You just have to win.
You mean who they played? Right.
Yes.
Right.
With the record, Coach JB talked about it a lot where they only beat 1 team with a record over 500 this season. Before the playoffs.
And that may prevent him from winning at 6. It very well may.
So, that's just my thought process. I think when I all said and done, I would say Mike McDonald in Seattle, what he's done.
And I wouldn't complain one bit, just like you wouldn't complain if Shanahan won it either, considering what he did, right?
You could say any of these 5, and I'm like, okay, I get it.
Sometimes you say, why'd they give it to that guy? Or sometimes we punish a guy who's got good players. Yeah. I don't. That tells me you know how to manage egos and continue to do that and lead people. I'm going to tell you a sneaky one that's not even in it. And after the last game, probably, but considering, and I know where they were at the beginning of the year going in, but considering what he had to deal with on one side of the ball, DeMeco Ryans had a hell of a year.
Yeah.
Would they win 10 straight? That 10 straight counting the playoffs? I think it was 10 in a row before they got beat. Mm-hmm. So when you look at that on the search, like he's not going to win it. He's not even a finalist, but you can make the argument considering that the discrepancy between offense. Oh, let me go through it. New England's offense and defense both pretty good, right, Segs?
Yeah.
Same with Seattle. Sans injuries, we already know why we put Kyle Shanahan in there. Liam Cohen, considering, who is Trevor Lawrence's first time as a head coach? And Ben's arrogance is probably going to prevent some, and I mean that as a compliment, but we expected Ben to make an instant impact like he did, right? But and Chicago has some good players too, as do the other ones. But when you look at a guy like D'Amico Ryans, thought it was going to be good. They hit the ground in a bad way, got their ass handed to them. But no, of those 5 teams, nobody's discrepancy from offense to defense as far as the optics was worse than what he had to deal with in D'Amico Ryans. So D'Amico Ryans is that guy that left out, but you could actually say, man, if he was a finalist, you'd understand. And that's not Houston Homer because I'm a Raider guy anyway. But it's going to be Vrabel or McDonald more than likely. I think Ben Johnson probably will finish 5th, and then you're going to do what you want with Shanahan there. But you could do a lot worse than that group of 5 coaches we got. And how many of them? Mike McDonald's in his 2nd year, right, Segs? Head coach, 2nd year. Liam Cohen, 1st year.
Yep.
Mike Vrabel, 2nd time around, first year in New England. Ben Johnson, 1st year in Chicago. And Kyle Shanahan dealing with 4 million injuries. Yeah, so there's an argument to be made for all of them. I'm going to stick with Vrabel, but the schedule may be very something that these voters actually frown upon and keep him out. But he has done a fantastic job.
And real quick, something we can actually talk about tomorrow is a decision that D'Amico Ryans made that maybe I'm questioning him. He's bringing back Nick Caley.
I think there's just as many. I think there's just as many questions. He's bringing back
Nick Caley as the offensive coordinator. They're gonna. I think they have to sit down and talk about C.J. Stroud because he's after that 3rd year, and this is when these guys start getting these extensions. What do you do? So I think tomorrow we sit down. We'd maybe talk a little about the Texans and the decision to keep Nick Caley and what decision do they have to make on C.J. Stroud.
Thanks. What would have even made you question D'Amico even more is if he would have fired Caley and hired a 1st-year offensive coordinator for the 3rd time instead of a veteran of some like a Brian Dable or something. Now, dude, I got if Dable wasn't if I had a chance, no disrespect to Caley, maybe it'll turn it around. But if Brian Dable was going to stay an offensive coordinator in the league and not be a head coach, and maybe he's not, I might have had to call him the second the Giants had.
Well, it sounds like Dable doesn't get the Bills job, he's going to be in your division with the Tennessee Titans.
Well, and why wouldn't you do that?
Get the first pick.
Why wouldn't you? Yes, so dude, why would it? Robert Saleh, he ain't stupid, dude. Brian Dable knows how to call offense. So I don't know, man. But yeah, the coach, the assistant coach hiring's been in question since D'Amico got there.
Yes, I love D'Amico, the defensive coordinator, the defensive coach. The head coach, I'm still waiting to see. Can he make a right decision?
Biggest year of CJ's career is this coming year, Segs, when it comes to cash. No doubt.
I think, and again, we'll talk about it tomorrow. I think they have to have a discussion on, do you look to trade him? Do you call the Jets and say, hey, there's no one in this draft outside of Fernando Mendoza. Would you give up a 2nd-round pick for C.J. Stroud? I think you have to consider it. So we can talk about that tomorrow. We'll preview the games.
That's a great topic. Agreed.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll talk about Seahawks, and now I'm blanking on who they play. The Rams, yeah. And then you got the Broncos, Patriots. We'll break those down for you tomorrow, as it's already Friday. I can't believe that. I can't believe it's already
Tomorrow's
Friday.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We've already got schools canceled because it's supposed to be like -45 tomorrow morning when we wake up.
It's 70 today, and I'm sure we've canceled classes here in Texas.
Yeah,
rain.
Ooh, that's chilly. You guys are pushing it. You guys had to wear a windbreaker outside today out there?
Yeah,
I remember those days.
Man, that sprinkle that screwed up your doggone windshield wipers. It's 40.
Right.
Yeah. When guys in your part of the world, 40, shit, I'm playing golf in short sleeves, man. Let's go.
Right. We feel for 40 right now. We love it. Well, it was
40. And if not,
2 weeks ago. Me and my boys were outside playing basketball.
There you go. 40. And sweating probably after about 15 minutes. Yeah. When all fails, go play pro sports and come back to college. We'll welcome you there too. Right. We love to do that. So there you go.
All right.
Have a good day. Great stuff, guys. And thank you guys for our great viewers, man. And like and subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. To our Rumble people, we love you too. Thank you.
Triple E, Laura, Bailey, as always, go like and subscribe to that YouTube channel at Unpaved Sean Salisbury. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, to get you ready for the NFL playoffs this weekend. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Unpaved Sean Salisbury here for bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.